Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Virtual Career Tuesday on this somewhat dreary day. I think it's dreary no matter what campus you're on. So I appreciate you joining us. Today, we're thrilled to say that we have Ashley Browning from COCC here with us.
Hi.
COCC is a financial technology company based in Southington, Connecticut. So Ashley, in her role, recruits, hires, and onboards employees, providing them a welcoming experience. I'm sure that's really true. And connecting them to the company's culture and collaboration. Ashley also supports COCC's summer internship program. Just a little side note, I want folks to know that Ashley was on the other end of hiring spectrum. She was, managing employer partnerships here at UConn. At the Center for Career Development. So prior to that, too, just a little UConn snippet. Yes, she holds a bachelor's degree in journalism from UConn, a certificate in human resource management, and an MBA, all from UConn. So I just want to say a big shout out to everyone. Thanks so much. And Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. I really do appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that you can just go ahead and give us a brief little introduction to COCC. And really, I indicated that it was a financial technology company, but maybe you can share a bit more information for us all. That would be great.
Yeah, so Kyle, and is it Saif? Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, you did.
Great. Have either of you heard of FinTech?
Yes.
Okay, good. So I hadn't the first time I had heard of it. And I was like, I don't understand this industry. So we provide IT products and solutions for banks and credit unions. So what makes our technology different is that it's specifically to support those type of industries. Connecticut Online Computer Center is the full name for the company, but we go by our acronym COCC. And we're based in Southington. We're actually right down the street from CCSU. And we have an Avon and a Rocky Hill office as well. So we're very local. The banks and credit unions we support are mostly in the Northeast area. You might be familiar with like People's United is a bigger client of ours, Liberty Bank. So not the national chains, but more local. And a lot of the software that we've been leaning into is on virtualized desktops, people who work at the banks being able to work from home, given COVID, that kind of area has really expanded for us. Mobile banking applications, software to open up for a mortgage or like a car loan. And then if you were to go into a bank and make a transaction, it goes through a core processor. It's kind of like the operating system for a bank. And we provide that. That's our main technology. We have about 200 clients on it. So that's a little bit more about what we do. So we have a lot of technical careers as well as business development, kind of the business side of things, corporate and security too.
Excellent. So I know that I touched upon briefly the fact that you obviously recruit and hire primarily for the internship program. And I know, based upon our previous conversation, that you have opportunities open and available right now. Can you talk a little bit about those and what opportunities are out there?
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about internship and full-time?
Sure, that would be great.
Okay,
thank you.
Great. So for our summer internship program is a paid about 10 to 12 week program. It starts, I think this year, June 1st, goes through the end of August. And it's a great way to get hands-on learning within FinTech and also your area of study. So we're bringing on about 30 interns. We're taking applications now, and we're doing kind of a rolling screening of applicants. And then those who are selected to come on site in March can come on site for in-person interviews. So our internship program, students are put on different teams depending on their area of interest, what they're studying, what their skills are. So if you're interested in like software development, there's some teams that you can do some actual coding. If you're into business development, we have sales teams and product teams. And then you get put in this cohort of like 30 other interns where you do lunch and learns, networking events. We do like LinkedIn trainings, resume workshops, and just different things to help you build yourself up professionally while you're in that internship experience. And then at the end of the summer, you're able to do a presentation on kind of what you learned and what you took away from the internship. So it's really great. It's really fun. And it'll be on site as well in either Southington or Rocky Hill, depending on the role.
So with that, I know that you touched upon obviously what areas of interest, but are you major specific?
We're not major specific, but we do look for some of our tech roles more. Like MIS is one that really fits in well with like our analyst positions. We look for different programming languages. Our only qualification is that you have to either be a rising senior or graduating, so 2023 graduate or earlier. And you have to be a citizen or green card holder for our positions. Unfortunately, we don't sponsor, but we're open to all majors. We have software developers who are history majors, so we're totally open to that.
Perfect, perfect. So let's talk just a little bit then about your full-time roles. Do you have full-time positions open currently? And I should have asked this previously, but I'm assuming based upon the fact that you're a UConn alumna, these positions are also posted on Handshake?
Yes. So our internship program is posted on Handshake. We don't, I don't know if the full-time positions are. So we have a couple that are open. I'm actually just going to pull up my website and then I'll link it here after as well.
Okay, perfect.
So for right now we have a build engineer position that's open. And so this is somebody who supports our product build group where like all of our code comes in for our products and they kind of they work on teams to support and kind of check in and check out that code. It's like they run a code library. So that is a great position for somebody who's coming right out of school. Let's see, what else do we have open? We have a systems administrator position. I don't know if it's posted anymore, but that's more for like tech support on our computer side. So those are open right now. And then we often have software developer positions or application analyst positions that are level 1. So anything you see on our website that's a level 1 is a great opportunity for a recent grad, especially somebody who's had internship experience as well. And anyone with banking experience, whether you're a teller or had an internship, is something that we always look at too. So I'll put right in the chat just a link to our career page.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I know that the internships, I believe, were within our newsletter last week. So if anyone's listening at this particular point in time and you have access to our newsletter, please feel free to go ahead and you can find those positions there as well.
Can I just ask a quick question before we get off the full-time, if you don't mind? Ashley, so those full-time roles, like you called level 1 or whatever, does a graduating, if a person graduated, let's say recently, do they have to have significant technical skills to get those roles? Or
it depends on the position. So if it's a position on our software development team, they usually look for specific programming languages. Otherwise, in some of our business analyst roles, those are, you know, open, and for people, we look for more transferable skills like strong communication, teamwork, you know, analytical, data management, that sort of thing.
Great, thank you.
So let's talk just a little bit about that then. That was a great question, Judy. Maybe we could accentuate in further detail, like what does your ideal candidate look like on a piece of paper, specifically their resume? So if maybe you could provide us with an overview. I know transferable skills, but you and I both know that oftentimes that's where the disconnect is. And
yeah,
how do you think students could best share what their skill set is on a resume?
Yeah. So I think probably because of my background in career development, I'm kind of picky when it comes to resumes. I see a lot of folks who are like mid-career, you know, been working for 10, 20 years, who have like a LinkedIn template resume that I see all the time. It might have like spelling errors, the format's not great. It's just like something that looks good and easy to read and shows me that you put time and attention into it is really helpful. In all of our positions, pretty much we look for attention to detail, strong communication skills. You know, we're in a business. You're going to be writing emails to folks, doing presentations, pretty much no matter what area you're in. So that shows me right there, like you have good attention to detail. If your resume looks clean, if there's things are worded correctly, like you have strong communication skills. So use your resume as kind of a marketing tool for yourself. But as far as, you know, as the resume itself, I look for, especially in the intern program, either prior internship experience or work experience. So your academics are great, especially if you don't have anything outside of school that's related to kind of what you're studying. So for example, like doing a project in your MIS class, or learning about Agile, or maybe taking like something that you've done and expanding on it on your resume to show some of those business skills is really helpful. And I look for students who have work experience too, because that shows me that you've had to be accountable for something. You've had someone telling you what to do. You've had management where you had to be responsible for an area. Those things are really helpful because we look for that in general. We hire big on culture. So you can be super strong analyst, you know, a whiz at Excel, you know all the principles within, you know, economics, but if you don't communicate well with other people, if you're not collaborative, if you don't share information, it's not going to be a fit. So we really, we use the resume to kind of get you in the door, but the interviews where we kind of figure that out with the candidate. So having, like, think about what your strengths are within your transferable areas. So, you know, projects where you had to take the lead, different times where you've had to show responsibility, you know, using that resume as a strong communication, you know, show of strong communication is really helpful.
Excellent. I do think that oftentimes the student population now, specifically through the pandemic, right, those transferable skills, oftentimes I think I could speak for my colleagues that what we hear on a regular basis is, I don't have expertise in this particular area, and they're unsure about how to connect the dots, right? Between maybe they were a lifeguard and it's not, doesn't have anything to do with being or working at COCC, but to try to explain that that shows leadership, shows commitment, shows it's a transferable skill. So
Definitely.
Right.
And then if you feel like you're lacking in that area, highlight a class project. So I know a lot of students, I don't know if either of you know SQL programming language, or have heard of like Agile. Like those are things that the business uses that you wouldn't use as a lifeguard, but if you've had experience in that in class, like throw it on your resume, make sure you build on that too. So we know that you have some of it, you're going to need a little bit of technical skill, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in a work environment. It could be you learned it on LinkedIn, or you took a course on Coursera or something. So it doesn't have to be like an official professional experience.
Right. So let's drill down even further about that resume and talk about, where do you like to see the skill set on the resume? Is it at the top after educational experience? Is it at the bottom? As a recruiter, where do you like to see that?
I don't really have a preference, as long as it's somewhere on the resume and the resume is like a page and easy to read through. A lot of times folks will bombard you with their skill set before their experience. I really need to see like where you're working, and for the internship, I need to see that you're in school and when you're graduating. That's kind of, those are, you know, what we call like kind of knockout things on a resume. Like if you're only a sophomore, or you know, then we can't move forward. But so that kind of thing is helpful to see right away. So skills can kind of go anywhere, but having a specific skills section with those tangible criteria in there is really helpful.
And so oftentimes now, specifically what we are seeing within the skill set is students are starting to list within their skill set their soft skills again, where previously that was maybe something that happened then from a recruiting process that kind of went away. Can you talk a little bit more about that? I'm sorry, I'm drilling down about the resume, but we all know that that's your first impression. So
Yeah.
I think the other piece of that is that it's vitally important for you to know where you're applying and how the recruiter wants to see that information on a resume.
Yeah, I tend to tell students to take that off.
Okay.
Because it should be weaved in your bullet points.
Perfect.
So it should answer like the how you did, the or why you did, whatever's in the career development resume book. But I've even had like current interns with us, and they'll reach out for resume advice. I'm like, take it off, because it's something that if you have strong communication skills, I'm going to see it when I reach out to you to set up a phone screen and you email me back like appropriately, or if we have a phone conversation or something. So if you look at your resume like a piece of real estate, it's like a waste. So yeah, just put it in, find a way to put it in other ways, or, you know, in the bullet points.
Excellent. I just want to make sure before I move on, if anybody has any other questions about the resume, I could talk about, the sad part is I could talk about a resume all day. I don't know what that says about me, but I just want to make sure that I provide everybody with the opportunity that if you have a question specifically, Saif, good hand raise. What's up there?
Do you guys look into like people's interests and stuff? Like, I'm sure you want to know that someone's not a robot, right?
Yes, we do.
Good question.
Again, it's real estate. So if you have a class project you can be putting on there, or work experience, or volunteer experience, or you were a leader in a club or in a club, that takes precedence over likes to hike, travel. Like everyone likes to read, everyone likes to travel. Everyone, you know, a lot of, unless you have something really unique. So for example, we had an intern who was a like semi-professional bagpiper. And he talked about it in the interview, and it seemed cool. And now I remember Connor as like Mr. Bagpipe, but he also incorporated it in his presentation at the end of the summer. It was really cool. But so it was something unique that kind of stuck out. But he didn't have it on his, I think he had it on his resume because he was involved with like a bagpipe association or something. So if your hobby is something like, if you're in like, I forget what the like for people who the outdoors club or whatever at UConn, or if you know, you play a sport or something and it's something you're involved in on like a more formal level, then sure, of course, include that. But if it's just going to be like an extra, you know, a couple bullets on your resume, I would steer away from it and just talk about it. Because when we ask you, tell us about yourself, you can mention it there. We're going to ask you, you know, about some other kind of skill, and you can include it and incorporate it in an interview question. We definitely don't want to hire robots though. So you're right. It's just don't waste the space when you can tell us you're not a robot other ways.
Perfect. Thanks for the question, Saif. So the resume worked. The individual has an interview. Can you share with us a little bit about what the process is, your interview process, what it looks like on both ends?
Yeah, so we have an applicant tracking system. Most companies do. So when you put your resume in there, some of them, and I know we've talked about it in other like career development presentations, some companies have resume, like they actually like pick out words and like put matches and stuff for candidates. We're not that technical, maybe, and we're smaller. So I don't do any of that. I look through every resume, usually gets about 15 to 20 seconds of my attention because I'm a squirrel. And then I move on. So it has to be something like, again, that's easy to read, looks relevant. So once a candidate applies, they get a confirmation of their application. If they look like they would be a fit for the position, we do a phone screen. The phone screen is really informal. We set it up through our applicant tracking system, so it sets up a time. And then it's about 15 to 20 minutes asking about your resume, your experience, some job related or internship related questions. You know, things like why you picked your major, tell us about yourself. Always be prepared to answer, tell us about yourself. And if the student presents themselves well, they're mature, they have good communication, they have relevant experience, then we move it forward to an interview. So for our internship program, it'll be like a big interview day on site. For our full-time jobs, it's usually an interview with the hiring manager. And there's also an HR interview component too. Something that makes COCC a little bit different is we also do an assessment. So are you all familiar with like MBTI or strengths, things like that? So we do something similar. It's called a predictive index assessment. It just tells us what your preferred work styles are, but we share that with the candidate too. So it's no surprises. We go over it with you in the interview. It just helps us understand like kind of what fills your cup at work. So that's done. And then the hiring manager interview, the HR interview, usually a team interview, and then we go through the offer approval process. So for internships, it's usually a phone screen and one other interview. Sometimes it's two. For full-time, it's usually a phone screen and 2 or 3 other interviews.
Interesting. So I think you and I both know that when you mention the word applicant tracking system or words, applicant tracking system, it sends, either a shockwave through everyone. You did outline the fact that being a little bit smaller, that you obviously do review the resumes personally. But if you utilize an applicant tracking system and it's not a keyword search, can you maybe share with the good of the group, what does an applicant tracking system do then?
It's almost like a project management software. So your application's in there. We ask qualifying questions about, you know, salary requirements, location, you know, work authorization, education. So your whole app, like from a compliance perspective, it's your whole application that's really important to us in the job and employment process. And it keeps your resume. For us, we can share the resume with managers. We keep all the data in there about interviews. We schedule them through there. Notes go back and forth between the manager. If I wanted to find, I could use it as like a sourcing area. So if I want to find candidates with Excel experience, I can search Excel. And if you have that on your resume, it'll pop up. But day to day, we don't usually use it like that. So a tip for just any applicant tracking system is have a really basic resume format. I've seen a lot with like icons and, you know, different templates with like photos, which never put a photo on a resume. We have candidates do that. And I have to take the photo off before sending it to a manager because we don't want any bias in there. Just make sure it's really easy for a machine to be able to learn and kind of pick up keywords on there. So the simpler, the better as far as format.
And so no templates.
No, I mean, you can, and you would upload it in a PDF so that there wasn't any issue with the template coming across, but nothing crazy. Like I see a lot, like people, we're not hiring for creative folks for, you know, sometimes in marketing, but we don't hire for advertising. We don't hire for art directors. So for us, having some snazzy, you know, look to your resume isn't going to really help. A lot of students, if they have like different projects that are technical, they might put them on GitHub, put them on LinkedIn, or have them, they're on their own webpage, which is great. And definitely put that on your resume if you have other standalone
Information.
Yeah, but try to keep it simple.
Perfect. Good deal. And then, of course, I did have one more question and it went right out of my head. So while I ponder for just one moment, I'll go ahead and make sure, again, open it up if anyone else has any other questions. I don't want to be hogging all of the question material or anything that you thought of that you wanted to offer, Ashley.
Not yet.
Somebody's got a
Okay.
hand raised.
Great, Kyle, go ahead. Thank you.
Hi, Ashley. I was just wondering if you could provide any more information about business analyst positions, what types of skills and like recent graduates you're looking for those roles.
Yeah, so those positions are both really, it's important to have technical skills as in analytical skills. So being able to do like VLOOKUPs and pivot tables in Excel. SQL is a programming language that we use, but a lot of the report writing that we do is written in SQL, or you have to be able to pull queries in it. So that's another thing that we look for. But almost every single one of our roles, even if it's technical, is customer facing. So we sell these softwares to banks and credit unions. Whenever there's troubleshooting, or if you're owning a product and working with the client, you're facing the client, even if you're an analyst. So it's really important to have that transferable skill set of being a strong communicator, being, you know, friendly, being able to make conversation, taking ownership of things, working through mistakes, troubleshooting, things like that. So both on the technical side, it's really important for the business analyst, but also on the customer side. The position we just hired for, it was equally as important for the person to have strong Excel skills as it was for them to write professionally, because the emails are coming in from the client asking issues about the product, and you have to be able to respond back to them professionally. So just as important. And we usually hire, you know, MIS for business students for that, because they tend to get a good background of both skill sets, but definitely anything. I mean, even our most technical roles, you have to be able to communicate with other people. It's a very collaborative work environment.
Great, thank you so much.
Good question, Kyle. So it did come back to me, and Kyle, thanks for coming up with a question so that I had a moment to ponder. So I just was curious to know, I did have a student recently ask me about one of the personality tests that they had to take for another employer, and came right out and asked me, is it possible, can I fail this test? So maybe can you talk a little bit more about your testing process, and how it's used?
Yeah, there's no failing it at all, because it's not an aptitude test. It's just telling us, are you someone who prefers to go with your gut instinct and make decisions independently and charge forward, or are you a person who's more collaborative? Are you someone who is social and needs a social interaction at work? Are you okay kind of working independently? None of these things are positive or negative. It just shows us where you prefer things. And how it helps us is in talking with the candidate about the job and the manager about the candidate, understanding, hey, so-and-so ranks really high in the social area. They want a team that's going to be very, social and connects with people easily, and either this team doesn't or does. Is that going to be a fit? So there's no failing it. It's just, and we don't hire or not hire people based on it. But it helps us kind of understand where they fit within what we're looking for, more from a person. It's not even personality, it's preference. So do you prefer a lot of variety in what you're doing every day, or do you like to kind of focus on one thing at a time? And for some roles that lends itself better than others. So it's just a tool that we use. It's part of the whole package.
Go, Saif. Thank you.
I just wanted to ask, how much weight does it carry in terms of like the entire interview process? So I know you said for full-time positions you have a few interviews, like 2 or 3, and I'm sure you guys take into account how those go. But like, what if someone completely, well, I mean, not really bomb, because you can't really fail it, because as you explained, but
Yeah, like is it a
I'm just trying.
match?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's happened where we've had people who are really not a match based on the assessment. So what I do is talk to the manager about different things they can ask them, the candidate. So-and-so, is super collaborative, and this is a position where they're going to have to work more independently. Can you ask them about times that they've had to make decisions on their own and get a comfort level about it? Because there's people that just because it's your preference doesn't mean you don't flex at work. And that's a whole piece of it. It's just how accommodating can you be? How flexible can you be? But so I doesn't really have a weight. It's just a piece of the puzzle. It's just like having a terrible resume. Like you can have a terrible resume and be a great candidate, and still get the job. And then we can go back and say, you really should fix your resume. But so it doesn't disqualify you or anything. It's just another piece of it. And it's something to talk to the candidate about too, to say, hey, listen, you're really looking for a social environment. Well, this is a heads down kind of quiet group, great people, but they don't go out for drinks on Friday and they don't really message much during the day in Slack. Are you going to feel, kind of comfortable in that environment? So it helps us to kind of navigate the whole interview for both people.
Great.
Thank
So
you.
let's go back. I know that we have just a couple of minutes. I just want to do a little touch point about the interview process. We've gone through everything. Just talk to me a little bit about what the length of the process is. You and I both know that for some employers, it's extremely long and arduous, and students oftentimes feel as though they've been forgotten during the process. But maybe you can give us just a little bit of a timeline so that students know what to expect.
Yeah. So all of our interviews, for the most part, are on a rolling basis, which is why it takes forever. So you might be a great candidate and apply early, but the manager might want to see a couple more people, which might take a couple more weeks. So it happens. For the internship, we already had the date set up for the interviews. But candidates are being screened now. It might be a couple more weeks before you hear back about coming on site for an interview. But a good recruiter will follow up with you, and I try real hard. So if you don't hear anything, it's perfectly fine to just check in, even weekly. I wouldn't do it more than that. When I was on the other side of the table and working in career development, I was like, why don't recruiters ever email me back? What is the problem? And now I know, I'm like, you're just really busy, and it's not that you're rude. You just like literally don't have time. So it could take a couple weeks. So, but we should have all of our internships placed probably by the beginning of April, because our interviews are mid-March.
Perfect. Perfect. Look at us, it's 1:29. I just want to provide everyone with the opportunity for additional questions. Anything that you want to go ahead and point out again, Ashley. But yes, Judy, do you have another
Sorry,
question?
I didn't
No,
know.
don't.
I'm not cool, and I didn't know where the hand icon was. But oh, there it is. I see it now. So that's my real hand. I just wanted to know, because you mentioned 30 interns, which is a nice, healthy amount of interns. How big is your company? Like, how many employees do you have?
We have 700 employees.
Okay.
150 of which were hired during the pandemic that have like half of them probably have never been to the office. So it's a pretty big base. And so we have interns and there's about 25 or so different departments. Most of the interns are 1-2 team. We don't really have interns that work, you know, 2 on the same team. So it's a good group. It's pretty diverse.
Okay.
So
And I just wanted to also mention to the students who have joined us or the students who will listen to the recording that it's always a good idea to mention this Virtual Career Tuesday when you apply or reach out. The fact that you're a UConn student and that you've attended a session like this or have heard Ashley speak, you know, any little thing to make you stand out is always a good thing. So I just wanted to mention that. Okay. Any other? Sue, you want to take it from here?
no, I just want to make sure Ashley provides you with the opportunity if there's something that you wanted to mention as a wrap up. And obviously, as I indicated previously, any other questions, but certainly appreciate everyone's time and energy and reach out to either Ashley. That was going to be one of my questions. Is it appropriate for students to reach out to you directly and indicate?
Yeah, let me put my email address in here. So it's ashley.browning@cocc.com. We're still looking, we have a big, this is 30 on-site students this summer. It's a big program. We're still taking applications. We are not a big name. I know that we're a smaller company, but we're local, we're collaborative, we're fun, do a lot of cool activities for interns. They had a bowling night and a cookout. We had food trucks this past summer. Like we do a lot to try to make it a fun place to work, and it works out. So tell your friends. We're hiring across all majors, and we really love to have a stronger partnership with UConn.
Great, thank you. I did have one more question. So out of the 30 internships, let's just talk a little bit about fit to hire from there. So what would be the possibility of COCC is hiring let's just say all 30 of those interns are UConn students and all 30 of them are fit to hire. Would there be the opportunity for that number of students to turn into full-time roles?
It's not 100%. Our conversion is about 75%.
75.
The issue is usually that we're not a big company. I mean, 700 is not small, but as far as headcount, if there's not somebody leaving or an add to staff, we don't have a spot for the intern. So it's not guaranteed. But if the intern does really well, they could stay on past the summer. They could work remote during the fall. We just had an intern who stayed with us all summer. She graduated. We've been trying to get her a position on her team. Unfortunately, they didn't have a spot. We just hired her for another spot on another team. So there's definitely future. There's interns who come back to us if they don't have anything, you know, for if they graduate, don't have anything lined up, and then do after they finish the internship, but we don't have anything for them. So about 75% conversion rate, which is really good. But even if there's
Excellent.
not an opportunity, that doesn't mean the door is shut for continuing to work there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. And that's always so great to hear, right? I mean, it's obviously we would want the partnership to be with UConn, but I think that students need to know that and my colleagues as well. So, well, unless oh, go ahead, Judy.
I didn't mean to raise my hand.
Okay.
On that button.
I'm sorry, you clearly would not hire me, Ashley. But Saif has his hand raised.
I only did it so you wouldn't feel lonely.
Oh, yeah, we hire
Nice.
both of you for just being kind.
Well, great, great. Again, Ashley, thanks so much for your time and energy. Certainly appreciate it. Hopefully folks will go ahead and watch this not only through our website, but also on our YouTube channel. Feel free to reach out to anyone within the Business Career Development Office should you have any questions or concerns about this particular Virtual Career Tuesday. And stay tuned for another Virtual Career Tuesday this afternoon at 4 o'clock. So sign in then. Hope to see you all then. Until then, stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. Why not?
Thank you,
Thanks for
Ashley.
having me. It's nice
Thanks,
to meet you all.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.